Hey everybody, it's Durger time. With Wrestle Kingdom 13 behind us, the wrestling world is abuzz with rumors and speculation, as the members of the Elite likely perform their very last show in the Tokyo Dome. With a new promotion and the largest bidding wars seen from WWE since the 90s all centered around them, it sure seems like the Elite's mantra of change the world really did happen. But with all this uncertainty and excitement, it's the unanswered questions and the what-ifs that leave me deep in thought. Is this truly how Kenny Omega departs the promotion that molded him into what he is today? What would be one more year with Omega in New Japan look like? Well, let's take a look and find out. This is Armchair Booker. I couldn't have been the only person to feel a little underwhelmed by Kenny Omega's potential final main event in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Not that the main event wasn't good, it was great, but Tanahashi vs. Omega 2 felt like a middle chapter of a longer narrative. The story of the match is confusing. The young sensation battles for the future of pro wrestling, and the battered veteran fighting for the old ways. One who brought the company out of the dark ages, now fighting for the spotlight, the other ushering in a new golden age. The conclusion? The new way loses to the old, and leaves the two exactly tied in wins and losses, 1-1. Is that our grand finale? What is New Japan trying to say here? Okay. That's not a horrible message, I guess, but it sure is underwhelming. If we leave this tale here, it is sort of resolved, but not really in a satisfying way in my opinion. The match feels like a build-up to a rematch that will never happen, and ultimately to a conclusion to a question Japan is asking. What is the future of New Japan? So let's book it. What is the third act to the tale of Kenny Omega? It starts here, January 4th, 2019. Our two heroes, fueled by their respective fans, fought for their vision of the world and for pro wrestling. Sensing the strength disadvantage, Hiroshi Tanahashi repeatedly targeted Omega's leg. The brutal attacks accomplished their objective, weakening Kenny's explosive V-trigger knee strike, but more importantly, making it difficult for him to lift Tanahashi into position for his devastating finishing move, the One-Winged Angel. It's a move that's legendary in New Japan, an almost unstoppable slam which has toppled the hardest of foes, and only kicked out of by one single person, Omega's closest friend and tag team partner, Kota Ibushi. Eventually, it was clear Omega was going to be unable to finish the match the way he wanted, and tried everything he could to overcome Tanahashi. But the electric energy of the fans fueled a furious Tanahashi. It was over. Despite his best efforts, Omega was defeated. With Tanahashi's patented Thai Fly Flow, Hiroshi regained his previous loss to Omega. A somber Kenny acknowledged their score on Twitter later that evening. 1-1. Omega is devastated by this loss. In a press conference, he hints that he's going to take time off, recover, maybe move on. It's clear that he's taking his loss hard, but equally so, the nagging question that seems to be just on the outskirts of his pin. Like Tanahashi, Kenny Omega feeds on the fans' energy. Where were they? Why were they so silent in the Dome? Had Japan abandoned Kenny Omega? Months go by in New Japan, and in many ways it feels like the old days. Hiroshi Tanahashi tirelessly closes out every tour. The belt is back on Japanese wrestling royalty, And without a clear challenger to try to take the throne, the clearest contender, Kazuchika Okada, seems still preoccupied with his blood feud with former Chaos member Jay White, a man who nearly ruptured his faction from the inside and stole his own manager away from him in the process. It's not until the lead up to New Japan's major American show, the G1 Special Super Show in Madison Square Garden, that a challenger finally presents himself to Tanahashi. In Kurikan Hall, clad in a leather jacket and with frosted silver hair, a reinvigorated Kenny Omega returns. The cleaner is back. Tanahashi initially shrugs off Omega. His disgust for him is apparent in all his post-match interviews. There are other wrestlers that are far more deserving of the next title shot. Hiroki Goto, the never openweight champion Will Ospreay, even Japanese fan favorite Juice Robinson. Omega had his chance, and instead he chose to walk out, take a break. Back of the line, Tanahashi says. Wait your turn. But Tanahashi can't completely dismiss Kenny Omega. Omega brings up a good point. It's hard even for Tanahashi to deny. They are merely tied, 1-1. Tanahashi wanted to prove that his style, his ethics, his vision, no, he himself was better than Kenny Omega. That night at Wrestle Kingdom, he only proved that he was equal. So a rematch was set at Madison Square Garden in a 60-minute time limit championship match. Tanahashi and Omega were to clash once again. Fight night arrives, and the crowd is out of control. The match, in many ways, is a repeat of Wrestle Kingdom. Kenny is continuing to try to set up his finisher, knowing that it will do in Tanahashi if he hits it. And Tanahashi is strategically targeting Kenny Omega's legs to prevent that from ever happening. The crowd is mixed, but clearly edging on Omega's side. The two seem to be expertly countering one another, and all seem to be lost after a devastating dragon screw seemed to buckle Kenny to the floor. Another high fly flow, and it would all be over. Tanahashi would pick up his 2-1 victory, proving that he was the better. An educated Omega counters. He was playing possum all along. Knees up, Tanahashi crashes down and rolls out of the ring, struggling to catch his breath. A battered, exhausted Omega goes flying and crashes into Tanahashi ringside. The two lay there on the floor as the bell sounds. 60 minutes had expired. The score 1-1-1. The path forward seemed eerily reminiscent to Omega's historic feud with previous IWGP Heavyweight Champion Kazuchika Okada, and the destination for the rematch seemed like fate. Yet again, Omega would compete in a 2 out of 3 falls match at Dominion. On 6-9 in Osaka-jo Hall, Omega relives his match with Okada, but with a new opponent. Tanahashi is far more aggressive than he's ever been before, but Omega seems to have a counter for everything he throws at him. Tanahashi gains the first pin, and Omega quickly gains the second. One pinfall and no time limit, there would be a conclusion to their rivalry this night. Tanahashi seems to have an answer for everything Omega gives him though. He's studied Omega so hard, he knows his every move, even before Kenny does himself. Omega begins to act desperate, utilizing the barricade, an exposed table at ringside. The match almost ends in an unprecedented disqualification as Kenny brandishes a chair, looking not just to win, but inflict suffering upon Tanahashi. The ordeal is stopped by a run-in by Kenny's only remaining friend in New Japan, Kota Ibushi. Kota pleads with him not to do it. Ibushi idolizes Tanahashi, and it clearly pains him to see this bout go down the route that it has been devolving to. But Kenny can't listen to reason. In a fit of rage, he pushes Ibushi as he tries to wrest control of the chair away from him. It smashes Ibushi in the head and knocks him hard onto the ground. Omega looks bewildered. Before he can apologize, Tanahashi attacks Omega and attempts another dragon screw. Omega reverses, and mustering all of his strength, he lands the one blow nobody can escape. It ends with a one-winged angel, and Tanahashi fails to kick out. Omega is once again champion, and looks onward to the G1 Climax tournament to continue to change the world. Tanahashi seems devastated, and seems dead set to ruin Omega's tournament run. Tanahashi blasts through the A block, seeming to be gunning for a finale with the symbol of everything he hates in pro wrestling. The same can't be said about Omega though. Despite the gold being once again around his waist, Omega seems to have lost more in his chase. Ibushi will no longer look him in the eye, choosing to pass him in the hallways in silence. For the first time, Omega truly feels alone in Japan. The Bucks are gone, so is Cody. His elite faction has decided to change the world without him. The Bullet Club has found new leadership, and his golden lover has separated. Omega has an abysmal G1. Tanahashi, on the other hand, is driven and gets to the finale. His B-block opponent is the man who idolizes him, Kota Ibushi. The match is hard on both of them. Tanahashi has never fought somebody as technically and physically gifted as Ibushi. Ibushi never had to combat a mind as sharp and sound and strategic. Still, Tanahashi is clearly getting the upper hand, because Ibushi is hesitating. He's holding back, his strikes are delayed. After all, it's difficult to do what must be done when your target is your god. Omega enters ringside and in a move reminiscent to a moment in G1's past, attempts to interfere with the match, this time on Ibushi's behalf. It's like a twisted olive branch, an attempt to try to restore his only remaining friendship. Ibushi pushes Tanahashi out of the way of the interference and takes a brutal V-kick to the chin. Omega's eyes widen as he realizes what just occurred. Ibushi rises up and lands a volley of strikes onto Omega, his back turned to Tanahashi. Tanahashi attempts to end the match with his opponent preoccupied, but Ibushi is just too good, too fired up, and the rage he now has for Omega seems to fuel him in this match. He unleashes himself against Tanahashi, no longer holding him back, and with a Kamigoye, he ends Tanahashi's G1 run. 1, 2, 3. Kota Ibushi is the G1 Climax winner. As weeks go on, Omega continues to rekindle his relationship with Ibushi. But it's clear Ibushi is done with him. It's over. The Golden Lovers have separated, and it doesn't seem like there's anything that can be done to bring them back together. Ibushi is furious not just over the way Omega has been acting during his rivalry with Tanahashi, but also his openness and willingness to leave the company in the future. Ibushi knows Omega will be leaving with his other friends one day soon, and the fact that nobody ever seemed to ask him how he felt about the situation was clearly fracturing their relationship before the chair shot ever fractured his skull. Ibushi calls Omega selfish, and says he used not only Ibushi, but the IWGP belt as simply items to validate him, to kind of build his brand. Ibushi would have no more of this. He was free from the spell he felt Omega cast upon him, and he would fully dispel it at Wrestle Kingdom 14. In the main event of Wrestle Kingdom 14, Ibushi would challenge Kenny Omega for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. The belt that seemed to mean so much to Kenny now felt like a weight pressing down upon him. In only 2 years, he saw himself go from a hero to a new audience, surrounded by friends, to be on top of the throne he desired so much, and be completely isolated. Apparently, the top of the mountain is desolate. And the match goes on, and despite Omega's dourness, he puts up the fight of his life. In some way, It seemed like it was an attempt less to keep the belt and more to impress Ibushi. Ibushi does not seem impressed. He lands strike after strike. Omega retaliates with consecutive V-triggers. Omega lifts up the stunned Ibushi and slams him down hard on his head with a one-winged angel. 1, 2, Ibushi kicks out. Omega is stunned. Ibushi manages to counter and slams his knee deep in Omega's face. Omega is out. Kota rolls on top of Omega. 1, 2, 3. The two went to war, and Kota came out the victor. Omega recoils to a corner like an animal hiding in the shadows. The New Japan commissioner hands Ibushi the belt. It would be a time to celebrate. But all Ibushi can do is stare at Omega and wonder, was this the end for them? He thought beating Kenny would make him feel better, but seeing his partner in his shattered state has only left his victory feeling hollow. He waved off the belt, leaving it in the commissioner's hands, and exhaustedly drops on both knees in front of Omega. He pulls him in and rests his forehead upon Kenny's, whispering something to him as a tear rolls down his cheek. Kenny lifts his head and shallowly nods to the belt. "Go get it," he mouths to him. He watched from the sidelines as Ibushi raises the belt up. At that moment, Kenny realized Tanahashi was wrong. There is a new era in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It just wasn't Kenny Omega leading it. And that ends the final year of Kenny Omega in New Japan. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Armchair Booker. If you like this series and want to see more, be sure to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to stay up to date on releases. And of course, drop a comment with suggestions of what you want to see in the next episode, either in the comments section below or on my Twitter. As always guys, thank you for watching.